Entertainment. Such an amazing yet guilting word. Humans have debated over millennia about the importance of entertainment. The Jews found it necessary as a way to celebrate the different seasons of life. The Greeks, especially the Stoics, found it despicable as a hindrance of the possibilities of life, of a life well lived, that is. And the globalized 21st century world have found it to be a way of living that allows us to cope with the broken world in which we live. So, is it necessary? Is it vital to life? Or is it just a waste of time? What do you think, Chauncey?
I was born and raised in California. I was raised a Seventh-day Adventist. I just was a little kid from Newbury Park, California. Went to Newbury Park Adventist Academy, but I knew I wanted to work in the entertainment business, and I've gone from being the last person on the credit, meaning when you're home and your whole family's watching and you're so proud of yourself and your name goes by so fast you can barely see it. But I've gone from being the very last person on there to now I'm executive producer of NBC and ABC Christmas and Easter specials. I work for Faith for Today Ministries. I've been there going on 30 years. We are seen by over 3 million people per week. That's a little background about what I do. I am employed by the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and I'm very proud to be a Seventh-day Adventist. I consider myself kind of a little bit of a different Seventh-day Adventist than some, but I think it's important. My whole life, I've always felt that we had so much talent. We have and had and will have so much talent in our church, but maybe because of how we as a church have programmed those before us, we have a lot of roadblocks, a lot of walls ahead of us in the entertainment business. But I want to encourage people I've always wanted Hollywood to come to our church and our church to come to Hollywood. I think it's a very important mix. I can't imagine heaven without a bunch of Hollywood people in it. I just think it's an important thing. For years, I feel that our church has backed away from the word entertainment, the word Hollywood. And I just don't think we need to anymore.
Yes, Chauncey, you're right. We don't have to shy away from entertainment anymore. The Christian church has always been behind when it comes to media. Even today with YouTube and social media, we're not using it to its maximum potential to reach people. But the entertainment industry has also changed. Here's Chauncey telling us how it has changed in the past couple of years.
It's changed a lot, buddy. I do feel when I first again started in this, I attend conferences every year. There's a huge conference. It's called Nappy, and it's N-A-T-P-E, and people can look it up. And it's anybody who's in television attends this thing. And I've attended over 20 years this event. When we first started going, they wouldn't allow us. We had a booth, but they wouldn't allow us to go under Faith for Today because they didn't want any Christian people there. It was, if you wanted to do that kind of television stuff, you had to go to a different kind of convention. So back then, we created a name called the Weiland Group and the AMS Agency, just so we could get in. So for about 10 years or so, we would attend, and I would attend 2 or 3 others, but I could never attend as Faith for Today. I only could attend as the AMS Agency or the Weiland Group. And so what I have noticed is, and I believe, thanks to Touched by an Angel and thanks to Seventh Heaven and thanks to a few shows that have, maybe more of the Waltons, just certain shows have kind of brought down that barrier. And now we can go as Faith for Today. People know that we're Seventh-day Adventists. People know that we're Christian. And we can now attend both kinds of conferences, meaning Christian and, non-Christians, where we're represented fairly in both. But I think it's important to say, and this is just my opinion, that we go to these, but we are not a preaching show. Our show, Health Lifestyle Magazine, focuses on health, mind, body, and soul. Now, our host is a pastor, but if we started preaching like some of the other ones, we would have to be on Sunday mornings and we would have to purchase time because that's just what Christian programming does. But more and more celebrities, look at Kanye West now and look at Brad Pitt was just at his church, and you can see Ben Affleck and Jennifer leaving their church. You see Justin Bieber leaving his church. You see so many more people opening up to the Lord. And so it has changed a lot.
So things have improved. Things have changed. Entertainment and church are now collaborating. There seems to be an acceptance from the entertainment industry to the church's values, name, recognition even. But what about the other side of the street? Is the church ready to embrace the entertainment industry? Here's a story from Chauncey when they had to decide whether to cancel or not an individual that may not have been welcomed at every church in America.
Lots of times people say, well, Chauncey, why would you want that person as a guest? Or look what they've, and I'm thinking, well, I don't care. I don't care. That's not the reason that we're bringing them on our show. We had a show and I didn't even know this when I booked her. I won't say the name. But anyway, I had no idea, but a pretty established, actress and, who has suffered from an illness, a very visible illness. When she comes in the room, you see exactly what she suffers every day with, and she's a spokesperson for this, and she's pioneered the way for a lot of this. And she used to be married. I didn't know she came out as a lesbian. I had no idea when I booked her, because when I knew her, she was married and blah, 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 blah. Well, now she's coming on a Christian show. So I called our powers that be, and I said, should I cancel her? And they said, well, is she going to talk about her lesbianism? And we said, well, gosh, no. What do we care? And this is me talking. What do I care? And they said, fine. We brought her on because wasn't the focus. It's none of our business. Now I want to make a disclaimer that this is me and my opinion. But I am responsible for bringing these people. And I thought we have to be very careful, because years ago, maybe we would have, but there's still shows out there that would not include her. Or there are people out there that if she did show up, they would ask her not to say this or not to wear this or whatever. And in my opinion, that does way more damage than good. I think the Lord just says, oh, what are you fools, in my opinion, what are you fools doing? Welcome her, love her. And we did. And it was, and it's, and it's a great show. We might get a little bit of flack about it, but I think people, maybe your generation and my generation, and hopefully some of those that are older, I just don't think we care as much. I think it's because we learn. And I think the more we study and the more we learn about God and grace and forgiveness, like you brought up earlier, I don't think issues like that are as important. I think we still got a ways to go, but I think society is a little more accepting of individuals. And that's why I encourage young people to stay in the church, or stay focused, or at least stay connected to God and the Lord, because we need that.
We definitely need that. And another thing we need is a little break. When we come back, more Disruptive Adventism, more stories from Hollywood with Chauncey. Thank you for listening. We'll see you after the break. You have an idea. You want to tell it to the world, but you don't know where to start. That's where Anchor comes in. They have the tools for you to edit, produce, and record your idea right from your phone or computer. It's the easiest way to reach and grow your audience. They publish for you to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all major platforms. And to top it all off, they match you with advertisers so you can earn from your passion and your wonderful idea. So tell me, what are you waiting for? Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started and follow your dream. We're back with more Disruptive Adventism. As we've seen, there are more interactions between the church and Hollywood right now. But why is it that we have had this opinion, this idea that entertainment is evil, that Hollywood is just not worth our time?
I think poor habits. I think upbringing. I think some of these people that I deal with in the church, I personally believe some just don't know any better. They just, like, they'll say something to me or they'll ask me, and I just look at them like they have three heads. And some of them, I just don't think they'll ever get it. Probably because of their upbringing and because of whatever. Now, that doesn't stop me from caring about them and still trying to let them see my side, but they are just never going to see something how I see something. But I think that's a dying breed. I think more and more people, as they just grow in life, and they just see how the world is changing and how life is changing. And there's just a few things that if our church, and I just mean my church, if we don't keep up, if we're not careful, we are going to lose out on thousands of possibilities to just give them Jesus. You know, if I worry that you're wearing 2 rings or a thumb ring or a nose ring or a tongue ring or a nipples pierced or something, if I'm going to worry about that, and that comes to you before Jesus, then I feel I failed. And I'm just not gonna do that. The Lord speaks to me. The Lord wants us to entertain. The Lord wants us to accept. I just don't think some of the issues that all churches beat over our heads is really an issue.
Is it really an issue? That's a good question. And I think a very good reflective question that we can even take from the Bible. When the people in charge of the church at that time, they had to reflect on circumcision as an issue. Was it really that important for everyone to be circumcised? Now, there are other issues that may be important, and they did define those. So take a read. It's a good chapter in the book of Acts. But let's continue with our story, and let's continue to see why entertainment is so powerful. And what are some of the things that bond us?
Well, I can tell you, like, on some of our shows that have been the most successful and most watched and most downloaded and more people calling us and so forth, when we do a show on anxiety, when we do a show on depression, when we do a show on nutrition, things like that, you know, which are all part, what I believe, the Seventh-day Adventist message, we have found those are our most popular shows. When we deal with real issues, with what people are going through. I think if you hit people where they're at first, you know, and help them and give them a hand and hug them, and you don't have to mention anything about anything except that, then you've created a connection with them. They feel safe with you. They talk with you. They start doing a little more research about you. I can't tell you, buddy, I can't tell you that the celebs and some of the people that have come that have no idea. I mean, they do check us out, but, you know, through our shows, and the way we get people is because one celeb will say, well, yeah, I did it. They're great people. But so many have come back to us saying, well, I didn't know you guys were Christian. I'm a Christian too. Or tell me a little bit more about that. That is the best thing. That makes me happier than anything when things like that happen. Because it's not us. You know what I'm saying? We didn't say anything. We talked to them about their bipolar. We talked to them about suicide. Or we talked to them about cancer or diabetes. And so I think in media, if we could touch more people with where they're at first, then if we want to go to the next step, what I like about I hope our show leads people to the next step in their walk in their faith with the Lord. I hope that's what happens to those people. But we're not going to push them that way. At least I should say I'm not going to push them that way.
So as you heard Chauncey, there are some good things about the entertainment industry. They help us realize that, celebrity or not, we are all equal. We all look for help. We all have anxiety. We can bond through the programs and the shows that we watch. As we finish the second part, one more part to come. Don't worry, we're not done yet. Another story from Chauncey about what celebrities are doing and how they're helping other people.
We brought on Jaclyn Smith, who's an actress. She was in the original Charlie's Angels. There was a time when there was no one more popular than the three of those Charlie's Angels, and they've made some movies after that. And she was the first woman to be in Kmart and Sears and have her own clothing line, her own Jaclyn Smith. So I know a lot of your listeners are thinking who, but they can certainly Google her. Just the most gorgeous. And I was a fan. I was a fan of this Charlie's Angels show. As a matter of fact, she was my favorite angel. I had posters. I had all that kind of stuff with her. And she came in, and she also fought breast cancer. And she lost Farrah Fawcett, one of her best friends, to cancer. And so it was a kind of a dream of mine to kind of have her on our show. I've been working on trying to get her for a couple of years. She agreed to do it. She showed up right on time, just as gorgeous as can be, as classy and as kind as can be. The whole staff just completely loved her. She was so kind and wonderful to all of us. And one thing that I didn't know that she did, and I just love this, when we were talking in the interview, she was saying that what she does, and she wasn't even, we had to like pull this out of her, but she goes down, and I don't know if it's weekly or monthly, but she goes down and brings a handful of her wigs. She has a wig line, and she goes to these cancer places to these women that come out bald or are scared or whatever. And here she is, and she gives them wigs for free so they can feel beautiful about themselves. And I thought to myself, that just really hit me for some reason, because imagine if it was your sister or your mother or your wife or something, and they get this horrible, the worst thing they can hear, or they just come out and their breasts are gone and they have no hair, and they just feel, imagine what they must look like or feel like when they see themselves in the mirror. And here's one of the most beautiful women literally in the world. And she doesn't just send an assistant or whatever and hands them or talks to them and figures out and gives them a wig so they feel beautiful, so they feel better. And that just happened like last, a few, and that's one that has really, really stuck with me. It makes me want to go out and do something kind of like that. You know what I mean? The press doesn't know about it. It hasn't been in the news. It's just something, I don't know. I think that's what Jesus would do.
And I think so too. Time for a second break. We'll be right back with more Disruptive Adventism. Hope you're enjoying this episode. This podcast is brought to you by our supporters on patreon.com and coffee.com. Our supporters are the backbone of the podcast, and we are very thankful for all of you. Your contributions allow us to seek the best ideas and disruptors in the world and bring you podcasts that energize, transform, and change your community. We hope you take courage and join our one-time contributors through coffee.com or our monthly ones on patreon.com. You'll get amazing merch and early access to our unedited interviews and produced podcasts. If you want to contribute, hit the links in the description below. And thank you. We're back for our final segment with Disruptive Adventism. Thank you for listening. I just want to remind you that you can get the unedited version of this podcast and many other podcasts on patreon.com/disruptiveadventism. Just $1 can give you access to our unedited content, to our bonus content, and to all of our produced content faster and right at your fingertips. So we start this final section with some words from Chauncey as to how to look at the entertainment industry and the celebrities that are within it.
And look what's happening, like with Demi Moore. Demi and I are, I haven't seen her for a few years, but we were very good friends. And and now she's out. She has a new book coming out. I don't know when this is going to air, your thing, but I mean, where she's really, and of course I knew all this stuff, but she has really, you look at some of these people and you think, I had done drugs with Demi Moore back in the day. But you look at these people and, at one point she was the highest paid woman actress, 12 million, I think she got for striptease. And, we look at her sometimes and we think she has everything imaginable. And she's been suicidal. And so you never know. We shouldn't judge. You just never know what someone's going through each day. When you bump into somebody at the supermarket or at the gas station or something, what does it hurt to just give them a smile? What does it hurt to just wave or something? You never know. I've battled depression. I've had days where it's just super hard to get out of bed and hard to just go get the things done you have to get done. And I remember when I'm in one of those moods, I remember the people that smiled at me or were kind to me throughout the day. And I think we as Christians, if we would even just do more of that than the other, come to church, you got to be this, you got to be that. If we would just kind of slow down on that part and focus on the, hey, hi, how are you today? Have a good day. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. Yes, sir. Just kind of nice, polite, that kind of stuff. I think if we do more of that, I think like one of your first questions earlier was, I think you will see changes. I think that is the changes in the entertainment world. Kindness, forgiveness. I think if we do that a little bit more, Christianity won't be such a negative, still have that negative little twist to it.
As you've been hearing the stories, you may think, this is great. The entertainment industry has changed. There's no problems. But the reality is there's still problems. There's still issues. Chauncey and I talked about those. It's on the unedited version. But he told me that there's still drugs. There's still problems. But we need to look at those problems as an opportunity to reach people and not necessarily to put them down. As we have been engaging with them, we want to definitely deliver the good news. Here are some tips that Chauncey gave us so that your church is ready to accept not only the people from the entertainment industry, but anyone that just wants to find Jesus.
Well, I think it's got to start at the top, meaning the pastor and the congregation. And each church has a group of influence that, the people that maybe give the most money to the church. They're, maybe they're elders or deacons or whatever, but they have power in the church. You know what I mean? I think a lot of churches have that. I think it really starts with the church level and maybe the conference, but they just need to do what Jesus would do. And they need to, I think they're so determined to get them in and change them. We're all sinners, but I think sometimes these churches, they say, well, sin like I do, or don't sin at all. Or, if you don't, I just think we got to back up, and we don't need to clobber people with this or that. I think we just need to let them in. I mean, I know you a little bit now, and I know you probably have wonderful experiences and sad experiences and stuff about how people have been turned away or hurt or damaged. And most of my friends, I went to an Adventist academy. There was a couple hundred people in our class. It was big back then. And at one of our reunions or so, there was less than like 4 or 5% that were still in the church. Now, that doesn't mean they don't like God or still don't have they just left the Seventh-day Adventist Church. They want nothing. Most of my friends want nothing to do with the Seventh-day Adventist Church, but they're still my friends, and it's because we've been damaged and we've been hurt and we've been pushed away and we have felt like we haven't been accepted. We haven't been. And thank God there's a few churches. Oakwood University is one. Faith for Today, Mike Tucker has one. I'm actually happy with Randy Roberts at Loma Linda. There's another one out there called Cross. I haven't been, but I've heard wonderful words about them. I think it's called Crossroads. I hope I'm saying that right. But there's a few churches out there. Crosswalk. I haven't been, but I've heard wonderful things about that. So there are ones out there that I'm not nervous about sending people to. I think the ones that aren't doing that yet, we need to pray really hard for them. I think these pastors need to be retrained, regrouped, reorganized. I mean, for goodness sakes, and I know we've got to end, but our church isn't even ordaining women. Shame on us, in my opinion, but shame on us. Right there, we're discriminating. Right there, in my opinion, we're discriminating. We'd have to stop that. In my opinion, we have to stop that.
So there you have it. Those are some tips, those ideas that we can start implementing in our churches. We hope that you enjoyed this podcast. This is Chauncey's final word that we're about to hear, and we really thank you for listening. Make sure to share and to give us a review on our podcast.
Well, first I want to say thank you to you and to your listeners, and I hope that if I said something that offends you, I'm sorry. You can find me on Facebook, or you could go to sothat'swhoiam.com and we can talk. It was never my intent. I was been looking forward to doing this interview. I like what he's doing. I like what they're out there. I'm thankful for them. I'd like to be a part of more of what they are doing. I would like to encourage people to watch Lifestyle Magazine or go to lifestyle.org. Look a little bit into Faith for Today. It's a wonderful ministry. We're not going to judge you. We're just going to love you. On a personal note, if you're adopted, or if you know of anybody that's adopted, or you come from a blended family, go to www.sothat'swhoiam.com for my book. But I just mostly want to encourage you to be yourself. I know God doesn't make mistakes. You are not a mistake. You are a child of God. He created you, and he wants you to be happy. He doesn't want you miserable. He doesn't want you waking up depressed. And I suffer from depression. So, I know, but I also know that he loves me. And more important to me, I believe he likes me. I believe maybe I'm on his picture of me is on his refrigerator. It's just as important for me to know. I know God loves me because he's God. That's kind of his job. But he likes me, and he likes you. And you are welcome, no matter what. In church, you are welcome to study more about God or Faith for Today. But be encouraged and know that you are loved today.
You've been listening to Disruptive Adventism. We hope that today's topic helped you to think and change something about your practices, about your faith, about your Adventism. If you want to subscribe, make sure to go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcast. We'll be there. And make sure to give us a review if you like what you're listening to. If you want to support, make sure to go to patreon.com/disruptiveadventism. It helps us pay our bills and produce the content that you're listening to. And if you want to socialize, make sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram or on Twitter, and hit us up whenever you need anything. We'll be there to support you. Thank you for listening today. We hope you join us next time. And as always, we invite you to be disruptive.